We have a mystery guest on our Newsmaker hotline. Hello, mystery guest.
Tony B, how are you, my friend?
Berkey, man. Hey,
The
Berkey.
sun is shining.
I am pumped.
The Vols are winning.
Squeeze
the
play.
Phillies are an unstoppable force.
It is.
Kyle Schwarber is the best hitter in the game, and it's great to be on with you, Tony B.
Well,
and don't you ever refer to him as Donnie Softball again after he's turned that barge around.
Big Sin, Tennessee wants to know, what's your favorite disc golf course? That occurred over at Shumpert Park. If you want to go get a piece of disc golf history, Bino's, you will find Bino's towel over there. I think it's off like hole number 7, deep in the woods. Berkey, Berkey likes the show because you never know what's going to happen. Berkey, squeeze play time in Tennessee once we get past this week. Your thoughts on Appenzeller starting and really my conduct over the last couple of weeks, because I've been a maestro on here. Yes or no?
You are always a maestro, the most entertaining guy in American sports radio.
Wow.
All time bad at your sports takes, but even when you're bad, you're good because it's entertaining.
I call you Bad Take Burke now, so.
Yeah, no, you're incredibly bad, but you're so bad people set their watch to it because they bet the opposite, and that's what makes you even more valuable than if you were good at it.
All right, B. All right, Berkey.
Your take on the Vols was just horrendous. I mean, horrendous. Can you believe how much that team fights and how many winning qualities they've displayed over the last 3 weeks, Tony? Can you believe it? I mean, they put a 6th spot. They gave up a 6th spot in the first.
No.
And a series they had already won playing in a AAA ballpark and almost came back and won the ball game.
I can't believe it. No, I can't believe it because they didn't show that all year. This is the same team that laid down time and time again, gave up a grand slam during the halftime of the freaking basketball game that we were getting trashed in. I mean, what are you doing, Berkey? What do you want me to do, Burke? I didn't do that.
Emotional.
I didn't do that for 8 weeks.
Emotional.
No, it's the truth. I didn't do that through the first 8 weeks of the season.
When they played bad in that Kentucky series, you got so emotional.
They really urinated me off. That really urinated me off. Losing to that guy. I didn't quit. No, I did not quit.
You quit on them.
I cared enough to rip them. Quitting would have been just talking, Lady Voss softball like Brian wanted to. I didn't do that.
Well, you call it whatever you want to. I say you quit on them, but that's okay. We'll let you back in. With one thing about the volunteer community, a lot of grace. We'll let you back on the board. And now, now you've done a nice little 180 on this club, and you're appreciating them for what they are.
I love them. I love the fight. And I'll tell you something. Somebody talked about it earlier. When you get 1 through 8, getting near 10 home runs in your lineup, that's a lot of pop, man. I don't know how many other teams can say that, but these guys right now.
Georgia.
Georgia can say that.
Georgia Tech. No, they are playing offensively. They are playing at a very, very high level. It is now no longer, hopefully Henry Ford and Blake Grimmer can do it. It's like Henry Ford and Blake Grimmer are two very good pieces, but just two pieces. Levi Clark's playing like the hitter that they all thought he was going to be, and Manny Marin has been kind of sneaky clutch down at the bottom.
Yep.
Blaine Brown is in a really scary spot in the 9-hole where you can just kind of whatever you get out of them is gravy.
Yep.
And the Garrett Wright kid, he is really put together. I'd say Garrett Wright and Reese Chapman to me are kind of the two pieces in that lineup that deserve a ton of credit because they've really been there from start to finish. Their production has really never waned. I mean, some weekends are better than others, like everything, but it's an offense that's very interesting right now. It really is.
It's a team that's really compelling because if they get the right draw, they're going to be a headache for somebody. And if they get the wrong draw, they're going to have the headache. And it really isn't. The thing about this club, Berkey, is there's not much in between with them. You know what I mean? They're just they kind of are what they are.
Yeah, I think the key is if they get Landon Mack back, you can dream a little bit. And it's funny. I was down there the weekend he missed his start. There didn't seem to be that high level of a concern. I mean, this is like, I wouldn't say that if that's not the vibe I got. But the fact that he didn't pitch again this week, I'm just not sure what to make of that. And it's like with UCLA's ace, he hasn't pitched in 3 weeks, and nobody will say that he's not going to pitch again. But you're like, well, why isn't he pitching? So, but if somehow you can get Landon Mack back to where you can get 4 or 5 innings out of him, they have 6 pitchers. They do. They have 6. And Appenzeller's in that 6.
Yes.
And 6 can be enough. Louisville rode 5 pitchers to the Final Four last year.
Say.
And it can be enough. Now, will it be? Who knows, right? Could they get a draw against an insanely offensive team and it's not going to be enough? Sure. But if you look at that Louisville club last year who drew Vandy, who was offensively limited, and they're pitching, absolutely every one of those guys performed to the ceiling they could have hoped for. Their offense took them to Omaha. Mm-hmm. So there's a formula out there. But it's a narrow path. But it is out there.
Burke, here's my question for you, and I'm going to let Bino jump in, but Chris Burke joining on the show of shows as we break it down scientifically and move right to left across your device. We're getting ready to see ABS this week in the tournament, okay? Is it going to benefit the pitcher or the catcher, and what are they doing with the plate, the strike zone? Are they expanding it? Like, how is this going to work? Can you just kind of give us the soup to nuts on this?
Yeah. We had a good call on this the other day. So just for the listener, for the viewer, technically the Major League strike zone is the white to the white. So technically the black of the plate is not part of the Major League strike zone. So the college strike zone will be from the edge of the black to the edge of the black. And then from the hollow of the knee to the top of the letters, and they're going to measure every player to the nearest millimeter. So it is going to be specific to the individual. It is going to be an inch wider on each side. It'll be an inch or so taller and shorter, however you want to look at that, top to bottom. And I think I'm going to say this as kindly as I can. I think the fan will be pleasantly surprised by how good the umpires are. I think there is a home fans especially think every umpire stinks, and I think the data does not say that. Now, will there clearly be some misses? Of course there will be, but I think you'd be surprised how high they rate on a nightly basis. I mean, most of these guys are clocking in at 94, 95% on a nightly basis.
Hey, Burke, if they put that guy that was behind the plate in that third game, behind the plate, who had the keyhole strike zone, it'll look like they're out there doing the hokey pokey. There'll be so many guys touching the top of their head. Or Simon Says, hey, Burke, Bino, what is this guy doing? Sheeping it up for college umpires? Bino?
I'm just giving you the numbers.
Bino? He
Tony,
almost called
don't
me
let the
Rooney.
facts
He almost
get in the way
called me
of a good
Rooney.
story.
Is you doing that because I'm bald? Are you doing that now because I look like I need a shot of B3 and I'm bald?
Yeah, maybe.
Hey, Bino, jump in here with the great Chris Burke, who I love, even though he's really trashing me in a public forum. But go ahead, Bino.
I think it's very interesting. I think we'll probably see that there are a couple of very few umpires that are real outliers. Like Burke said, I think we'll find that most of them are pretty good. I don't think college umpires are nearly as good as Major League umpires, but if the numbers in Major League Baseball kind of transfer to college, then you're going to see more balls changed to strikes, and you're going to see the catcher be a whole lot better at challenging than a hitter or a pitcher is.
Well, these coaches are not going to let the pitchers do it.
Really?
Pretty much all. Yeah, they've pretty much all
let the hitters do it.
The pitchers are too emotional. And then they also are like, we would never let Tony B challenge a call. Too emotional. Just you would never, Bino, I'd let you challenge a call.
Yeah.
But Tony would get disallowed from challenging calls. Just
Tony,
his heart's in it too much.
He'd be out of challenges before the first break.
That's right.
Hey, guys,
exactly
I got thrown out of a rec league game one time coaching because I said to a guy, 2 teams out here, ref, 2 teams. He goes, what? I go, 2 teams, 2 teams. He goes, what are you talking about? He goes, you're gone, man. I'm not going to listen to that. Anyway,
not going to do it with the 6U intramural ball at the Y. You wasn't taking it.
It was almost what was it like? It was like upward basketball or something. It was even worse than that. But anyway,
that's it. So they have all like kind of cast typed their players.
Okay.
And those players have earned that throughout the course of the year because while they haven't been doing ABS, all those players have a Rolodex of at-bats where they have, argued a call or come back to the dugout and said that ball's a foot outside, whatever. Or they wear their strike 3 like a pro and don't say a word and say, yeah, that pitch was there. So these coaches have learned their team in that regard. And then, of course, some of them are going to make it very situational dependent. If it's a 1-1 pitch with 2 outs and nobody on, you're not reviewing it.
So in the majors, you get 2, Burke. In the majors, you get 2. How many you get here? What are they going to do? What's the format?
You get 3, and they told us essentially the thought process behind that was just 1 every 3 innings. And then if it goes to extra inning, you get 1 per inning.
Really, really interesting. It's something you've been calling for a long time. And what this will do is it'll clean up the egregious misses. And there are egregious misses. We see this. And really, the egregious misses are what we want cleaned up. I think that's what we would all agree on. So, Bino, I'm okay with 3. Are you, Bino?
Yes, Tony. It's especially as quickly as they're able to do this. If that's what we see in a college game as well. Yeah, no problem with 3.
You get 3, Burke, and if you're right, it doesn't count against you. Is that how it works? You keep a challenge?
Yeah, and it's really interesting. We went through some of the scenarios that I don't watch the Major League game close enough to see if some of these things have played out. But I'll give you one that's kind of interesting to think about that comes into play once you start doing this. Is if it's a 2-2 count, say it's 2-2 count, and runner takes off steal, 3-2 count, runner takes off the steal, and they call it ball 4, and the runner peeks in there and kind of starts jogging. 10 feet short of the base because the ball's called ball 4. And, but the catcher throws it anyway and they tag the guy out. If the pitch has gone back to be ruled a strike, let's say that, the catcher throws it and then he decides, wait, you didn't call that a strike? And the guy's like, no, I called that ball 4. And the catcher has to immediately then appeal the pitch. And if he does and he's right, you could go, well, wait, is the runner then out? Right? Because it was ball 4, but he gave himself up. So what do we do with the runner? So they've just gone straight by the Major League rule book on all that stuff. So in that scenario, the runner would just have to go back to first base. But the runner would not be called out.
That's interesting,
and again, I'm not going to give you all the different things that could pop up, but there are some situations like that can arise that I was like, oh, I didn't even think about some of that kind of stuff,
Well, the game is so great, the game of baseball. It's such a thinking sport anyway. And it's such a game of you can watch millions and millions of games and still see things you've never seen before. It's the beauty of it, right? And when you you've got to be on your toes doing what you're doing in the booth. And you were an infielder. And man, infielders have to be thinking all the time, what am I going to do with this ball if it's hit here? And you better think through it, or it's a sport that'll make a damn fool of you. And it really will.
Yeah, and this even adds another wrinkle to that. But there is no coaching challenges, which is going to be interesting. Again, this is just the SC tournament. It's not postseason play.
Right.
It's only a week. So these guys aren't going to spend, insane amount of time trying to game the system. But there is a thought process out there that you could have verbals from the dugout to try to cue a hitter that you want to review a pitch. But the umpires have been told that it has to be immediate within 2 or 3 seconds. So, if I say, hey, Bino, good take on a pitch that's my verbal for you to review it, and you hear that and then ask, the umpire can potentially not allow that.
Oh, wow.
You see what I'm saying?
So it
can't come from the dugout. It cannot.
Wow. So we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Burke, I've seen a couple of instances this year where in Major League Baseball where they have not allowed a challenge because it took too long.
Mm-hmm.
That usually results in a pretty good argument.
Yeah.
Chris Lee said that the baseball, what they're going to do here is going to be wider than the Major League deal, or higher, 5 inches higher. And the bottom of the strike, the bottom of the strike zone.
I already told you the measurement. It's an inch on each side, and it's about a half an inch top or bottom different than the Major League zone. Everything's going to be relative to the hitter.
The guy that did the Oklahoma game, there'll be more. The last game, there will be more head tapping. I'm telling you, it'll look like this. I mean, guys they'll be doing the safety dance, for crying out loud.
The Major League zone is 17 inches. This one's going to be 19 inches wide.
Well, Neil McCready said the same thing. I don't know who to believe. A guy that was on a conference call with the
head of the umpires
and the head of the umpires, or those guys. I'm probably going to go with, even though I love both those guys, I love both of them. And I love me some Chris Lee. He's a good man. Just funning with you, Chris, because the truth is this is going to be a real adventure. Burke, are they going to put it in the sport next year? That's why we're seeing this, right? They're going to put it in the sport next year.
This one's kind of weird to me because I'm a big proponent in this, the college game using all the Major League rules.
Yes.
I just don't know. This one actually requires the technology that feels too expensive. Like there's no expense involved with limiting the number of pickoffs. There's no expense involved in if you wanted to do the shift rule, or you wanted to say the 3-batter minimum from the bullpen like that. There's no expense involved in that. This one, there is an expense involved, and already knowing that some of the non-power conference teams are operating at a significant negative surplus on the baseball side of things, to add expense, I don't know. I just don't see that becoming the norm. Short of major college conferences breaking away and becoming their own deal. Now, if that was the case, I could see it being the norm. But if we still continue to exist where 320 Division I teams are playing for the national championship every year, I just can't see the Big West or the ASUN or some of those, the MEAC. I just can't see some of those conferences investing in the technology. I mean, maybe I don't know how. Maybe I'm naive to what it costs. It is a cost.
Can it become an SEC thing? Like, hey, you play in one of our
definitely
ballparks.
Could.
So they could do that.
Definitely could. But then it becomes, the question of do we, and I think they did that with replay a couple of years before it became the national norm. Does the SEC want to spend their whole year doing that and then it not being in the national tournament? I mean, I could see a scenario where they would, just because the coaches want to make sure those games are umpired perfectly as they can.
Why wouldn't you?
Because of how much is on the line for these guys.
That's right.
Maybe.
Why wouldn't you? Yeah. Guys, any other thoughts for Burke on the way out before he hazes me and gets in a final shot? Go ahead.
Chris, has Tennessee done enough to assure they're no worse than a 2 seed somewhere? And what do they have to do in Hoover to avoid playing at Georgia Tech or at a UCLA?
So as of this morning, they were 28th in the RPI, which would put you right on that outside of that list to play Georgia Tech or UCLA if you were 28th, because 29, 30, 31, and 32 would be in the mix for that grouping of teams. That's pretty interesting. You're at a place where every win just helps your RPI once you're at Hoover. So that's a positive thing. I do think the way Tennessee finished will look very good on the eye test. Because people don't realize this, but there's groups called the regional advisory committees that are centered on people's opinion of a team more so than just metrics. And you know how these committees go. They can pick whatever data point they want to justify whatever their seedings are. But the regional advisory committee is a part of the process. I think the way Tennessee finished the season, they'll check in pretty good with that group. So, but as always, a good showing, a win or two, can always help. But I can't, I don't think they're playing for a ton this week. Last year they earned a regional host. This year feels more. Would it be nice to get Landon Mack out there? Yes. Is that even on the table? I just don't know.
So
would it be nice to see Cam Appenzeller give them 3 scoreless innings? Yes, that would be great. There's some things I think internally they'd like to see, but I just don't know how much it's really going to affect their seeding unless they win like 3 games. Then it's like, okay, well, now you're talking about they moved to one of the top 2 seeds at that point, I think.
Winning a game's enough, right?
I think winning a game keeps them in the middle of the 2-seed pack, somewhere in the 24 to 28 range, would be my guess.
Yeah. Of course, none of this is done as one of your cohorts at D1 Baseball who was on with us a couple weeks ago. The tricky thing about any of this stuff is it's never done in a vacuum, and there are always going to be outliers and surprises, and this team makes a run and how it impacts you. And when you're on the not cut line, but when you're on a line like Tennessee is, you always have to be careful.
Can I give you guys some good sports talk radio on the way out?
Please.
And I know your tag phrase is all politics are local, but this is semi-local because it involves Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt is 14-16 in the SEC. Their RPI as of this morning was 74. Nobody from the SEC ever gets an at-large pick with an RPI outside the top 50. Like it literally doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
However, the other side of that is essentially this decade, everybody that's won 14 games has made the tournament. So they've got this kind of double-edged sword going that's going to be fascinating. Their first game if you want a reason to watch tomorrow, the second game of the tournament, which is Vandy and Kentucky at 1:30 Eastern. Kentucky is like 31 in the RPI, but they're 13-17 in the conference, and Vandy beat them at Kentucky 2 out of 3. So if Vandy wins tomorrow, they will hold a 3-1 record against Kentucky. They will have 15 conference wins versus Kentucky's 13. And that would be a very legitimate argument to be in over Kentucky. Now, the other side of that is it might just knock Kentucky out and still not get Vandy in, right? But to me, that is as juicy and as compelling of a tournament game as a first-round SEC tournament game that I can remember.
And you're right. All politics are local because we hate those guys in Nashville. But if they win tomorrow, that's very, very, very compelling. What say you, Bino, with your cursory knowledge of the subject, your scratch-level surface knowledge of this? What say you, Bino?
I just love the fact that there's a scenario out there where they could both get knocked out. Whatever that has to happen, that's what I'm pulling for.
Cheer for a tie, and Burke, I love you.
Peace.
Hey, Burke.
Yeah.
Have I redeemed myself? Am I back in the boat? Have I earned the right?
You're
after
totally
riding in
back
the
in
ambulance
the boat.
2 years ago. After riding in the ambulance, do I still love my baseball? Am I still in?
We'll let you back in with open arms, Tone. Thanks for getting them going.
Thank you, Burke.
And the Phillies look good. Peace.
Love you.